Ray Ferrier starts his weekend the way he usually does, half awake and half prepared for the short time he's supposed to spend with his kids. His ex-wife drops off Rachel and Robbie at his small New Jersey home before she leaves for Boston. The tension is clear from the start. Robbie barely talks to him, and Rachel is nervous about everything from food to her surroundings. Ray tries to act casual, pretending that everything is normal, though even he knows it isn't. His relationship with them has been drifting for years, and this weekend is supposed to help fix it, even if he has no idea how. The day feels ordinary until Ray notices something strange in the sky. Earlier that morning, news reports had mentioned odd storms forming around the world, but Ray hadn't paid much attention. Now, thick clouds gather above the neighborhood as if pulled together by some invisible force. The wind suddenly shifts direction, pulling toward the storm instead of away from it. People step outside to look. The sky cracks open with a sudden blast of lightning, but there's no sound. The bolts hit the same spot again and again, stabbing downward into the heart of the city. Ray tells the kids to stay inside and runs toward the commotion. The streets are filling with confused neighbors and flashing lights. Power goes out across the entire block. Watches stop. Cars die where they're parked. Everything mechanical seems to shut down. Ray feels a surge of unease, but curiosity pushes him forward. When he reaches the intersection where the lightning struck, the crowd gathers near a large crater. A strange vibration rises through the ground, and people step back. The asphalt cracks, then lifts, then breaks apart like something massive is pushing up from underneath. A deep groan echoes through the streets. Within moments, a towering metal shape rises from the earth. Its limbs unfold like a waking giant. Pedestrians scream as the machine stands upright on three enormous legs. The tripod moves W. The next morning, Ray wakes to the faint hum of distant explosions. Smoke rises on the horizon from towns the tripods have already destroyed. The farmhouse is quiet except for Harlan moving around, trying to repair a radio in the hopes of finding some news. Ray checks on Robbie and Rachel, whose sleep was filled with nightmares. They cling to him, frightened by every shadow that crosses the windows. The outside world feels impossible to comprehend. Every story he heard as a child about war and destruction now seems small compared to this. Ray decides they need to keep moving. Staying in one place makes them easy targets if the tripods return. Harlan warns him that the machines could appear anywhere without warning. They load into the van, carrying what little food and water they could spare. As they drive along the empty country roads, they notice strange patterns in the landscape. Trees lie broken in perfect lines, fields are scorched in geometric shapes, and the few animals that survived flee at the sound of distant mechanical footsteps. The machines seem methodical, almost intelligent, in the destruction they leave behind. When they reach the nearest town, they find it abandoned except for the lingering smell of smoke and fear. Houses are partially collapsed, and cars are overturned on the streets. Ray feels a creeping sense of isolation, as though the entire world has emptied out, leaving only destruction and the tripods themselves. A single vehicle remains. A man with a bandaged arm waves them down. He's delirious, muttering about the machines and claiming to have escaped from a nearby military camp. He tells Ray that no one can stop them, that the army tried, and that everything failed. His words unsettle Ray, but they also fuel his determination to keep his children safe. As night falls again, they seek shelter in a deserted barn. The darkness feels heavier than usual. Ray listens carefully to every sound, trying to discern whether the tripods are near. Sue. The ferry eventually reaches a quieter stretch of the river, allowing Ray, Robbie, and Rachel to disembark. The survivors scatter into the woods, looking for shelter and safety. Ray knows that staying in one place too long is dangerous. The tripods could return at any time, and their senses seem sharper with each encounter. He scans the forest carefully, spotting signs of small animals fleeing, disturbed earth, and flattened vegetation, a subtle warning of what lies ahead. As they move through the trees, the sounds of distant destruction continue to echo, buildings collapsing, heat rays cutting through metal and concrete, and the occasional human scream that pierces the still night air. Ray's instincts tell him that the machines aren't just hunting, they're testing, learning, and adapting to every resistance they encounter. Each encounter leaves towns empty and rivers clogged with debris. For Ray, survival is now a matter of staying one step ahead of something that seems impossible to outsmart. They stumble across an abandoned farmhouse, partially intact and stocked with basic supplies. Inside, they meet a man named Harlan Ogilvy, who has been hiding with a group of terrified neighbors. Harlan is jittery, his nerves frayed from the relentless attacks. He talks obsessively about the machines, their strength, and the futility of resistance. His ramblings are disjointed but carry a kernel of truth. The tripods are unstoppable by conventional weapons. Ray realizes that logic, strength, and courage alone won't be enough to survive. He must stay alert, think ahead, and protect the children at all costs. Night falls again, and the forest becomes unnervingly quiet. Every snapping twig or rustling leaf triggers a spike of fear in Ray. He sets up a small perimeter with makeshift barriers and positions Rachel and Robbie close to him. The silence is broken by a low, distant hum, growing louder with every passing second. Dust falls from the ceiling as the vibration intensifies. Morning breaks with a pale light over the devastated countryside. Ray wakes, exhausted but alert, knowing that every second could bring a new threat. He rouses Rachel and Robbie and urges them to continue moving toward Boston, where he hopes some form of organized resistance or safety exists. The woods around them are eerily silent, the occasional chirp of birds and rustle of small animals the only sign of life. The silence is deceptive. Every tree, every shadow could conceal a tripod, waiting to strike. They come across a group of refugees trying to flee along a dirt road. Some have injured family members, others are clutching what little supplies they could carry. Panic and confusion ripple through the group as the sound of distant metal footsteps reaches their ears. The tripods are approaching. People scatter in every direction. Ray grabs his children and runs, weaving through trees and debris. The ground shakes violently as a tripod appears over a hill, its glowing eyes scanning for heat signatures. Ray hides the children behind a fallen tree as the machine moves methodically through the area. They watch as it vaporizes a truck and several people who couldn't escape in time. The sheer scale and precision of the tripod overwhelms them, leaving them shaken but determined. Ray realizes that the only way to survive is to stay ahead, move quickly, and never let the machines catch sight of them. As they continue, they come across a derelict house, abandoned but sturdy. Ray decides they can rest briefly, catch their breath, and plan their next move. Inside, they find a small cache of canned food and water. Rachel and Robbie eat quickly, while Ray checks the perimeter for signs of approaching danger. The forest around them is quiet, but Ray knows better than to trust it. Later that day, they encounter an old man who warns them of a nearby tripod that has been systematically destroying everything in its path. He tells them that the machines are not just attacking, they're